is like really big. I think that vibe is pretty big, you know? I think. What do you think? I am really hot. We need...
Remember to use this camera more too. So scooch a little bit this way. Just a little bit. You don't have to face it, but like.
Yeah, I'm really hot. Can we make the AC more? One of the reasons they pick us is they get a lot more bang for the money or bang for the buck. Is that how you say it? Bang for the buck. Hello, welcome to another solo episode of the Dope Designer Club. Today, I just want to actually do something a little bit unusual. I was interviewed recently by a publication from Serbia called Nova. And it's a women's magazine, and they talk about all kinds of issues. But I was really impressed because the woman who interviewed me came up with such brilliant questions that I felt like I wanted to also answer them here. So we're going to go through her questions, and it'll be short and sweet, I hope. So her name is Nevena, Nevena Dmitrijevic. Her first question is, these are also in Serbian, so I'm kind of translating them back to English. So what was it like to become like a notable architect in Los Angeles, and what situation do you remember as sort of a turning point in your success? I think this is a great question. First of all, it's a huge compliment. But second of all, I think that in my evolution as an architect and as a businesswoman, I don't think there was like one single moment in time that suddenly everything happened. I feel like that, generally speaking, we are a product of a whole slew of different events, conditioning, education, experiences, and so forth. So I feel like all of these small events in my life kind of led to where I am today. And I think also it makes me think about, like how oftentimes like in movies or how people portray successful people, there was like, oh, they either get discovered or suddenly something huge lands in their lap. And the reality, the everyday is sort of like boring or not talked about. And I think that one of my big sort of lessons in life is that all of the little things that you do every day that seem minuscule or boring or mundane are an opportunity to do something special within them. And so if you treat every moment like that, suddenly, it does conglomerate quite quickly. The other part of this question that might seem like an antithesis to what I just said is this idea that there's something grand or a deus ex machina that happens. And in some ways, I also feel that might be happening as well. Sometimes, out of nowhere, something good will happen unexpectedly. And I definitely had like a lot of serendipity in my development as an architect, who I met, who were my mentors. I'd say that, speaking of something like that, the biggest project we've ever landed was 136 El Camino. And it's a big project, but it's also an important project. And I talk about it in a lot of my other content. It's a historical building. It was originally designed by William Pereira. And I think after that definitely changed the types of projects we work on now. And I think that, if anything, that was like a big turning point in my career and in Plana. I think that definitely brought our caliber, slightly up. So the next question is really interesting as well. She's asking, so what makes your projects different, and why do your clients pick you? And that's a great question. And she cites one of my clients, Nina Monte, and I got to say, Nina, first of all, is a friend of mine. And she's a mentor. And yeah, we did work on her startup here in LA. It's called SNU. And Nina is great, but I feel like we also have other clients that aren't friends, that are also worthwhile discussing, like why they pick us. I think one of the reasons they pick us is they get a lot more bang for the money, or bang for the buck. Is that how you say it? Bang for the buck in hiring Plana, just because we're a very compact team, and I like to be efficient with my time, and we don't like to drag things out in meetings and so forth. The other thing I think that's really important is, I think that, the people that you work with, especially on these long projects that sometimes take for years, I think my whole thing is like, let's make the process as enjoyable and as personable as possible. And I think that's really important. And I think that process also results in a better building. So that's another great question that Nevena came up with. Then she's asking, what materials and styles do you choose in your work, and why is it important that they are timeless and that they respond to their surroundings? And how do you choose biophilic materials in your projects? This is a great question, and the reason I love this question is because I could tell that Nevena definitely researched me and she researched my philosophy, and I use the word timeless a lot. If we could do timeless, a bing for every time I say timeless or dude, it'll be a lot of dings. But all joking aside, I was never really into trends in architecture or fashion or anything really. I think there is a timelessness in design, just like in any other discipline, like fashion or literature. And so I really appreciate that Nevena kind of picked up on that. And I think in architecture, our style is, a few years ago, we all saw the polished Carrara marble, and, and it just seems like it's everywhere. And I specifically don't want to do that on my projects, because I don't want my projects to look like a tomb, encased in this marble and all these things. And, a few years now we see it's everywhere, and now we recognize that as maybe a passing trend, and now we can see some other things that are happening as trends. But the other part of this question, I think, is she also talks about the relationship of our architecture to its surroundings, and that's something I'm I'm huge on that, because everything that we design or we put out into the world has to speak to what's already there. And I think as an architect, I can't, I'm not a fan of sensationalist architecture. And yeah, that too has a place and a purpose, but in my architecture, I'd like it to be, I think, more subtle. So I think that's a part of the style. She talks about materials and biophilia. So biophilia is anything that kind of works with nature and is striving to be in balance with nature. And there's definitely materials that help with that. Maybe choosing wood or stone. Those are natural materials. And of course, they're going to remind us of nature and make us appreciate nature. But also when we design things, orientation is important. Maybe picking views that connect us visually with nature as well. So there's a lot of things in design, a lot of strategies that we can implement to create biophilic architecture and interiors. Next question is about clients. So it says, do your clients have very high expectations? What is it that they want, and how detailed are they when they work with you? What are some unusual requests? And what was the challenge? And so how did you kind of respond to that is the question. So I think all of our clients are kind of challenging us, and I actually like that. I think it would be kind of naive to think that, like all our clients just hire me to, give them my signature design. I actually don't even want that. I want to be challenged by clients because I feel like every time we get challenged, we have the opportunity to make something better, something maybe that we haven't thought of yet. And thanks to these challenges, we get to test our originality. Recently, we designed a clinic in Beverly Hills, and Anshal was here, and she and I have very different styles, very different personal styles, very different views on design. And originally, when I sent her a rendering, she's like, "Oh my God, Branka, this is too minimalist." And I agree with her. I agree with her. I, then actually found out a little bit more about her background and her culture and where she's coming from and what her vision is. And so together, we came up with a design and a style and an aesthetic that I think was actually better than my original one that I really liked also. Sometimes I think our clients will go rogue. This recently happened on a project where I heard that there's a purple couch in one of our spaces. I'm not sure how to feel about that. I haven't seen it in person, so I'm not sure. But the purple couch kind of scares me a little bit. So that's another great question. Again, I think it would be arrogant if I thought that I had all the answers, and I think that I grow by having this kind of point of view, that every project is an opportunity to learn something new and to evolve as an architect, as a designer, for your aesthetic to evolve even. So it's all good to have challenges. All right, so now the next question they're asking about, so they're in Serbia, they're asking me, hey, so what are the trends? What are the dominant trends in LA? And in what direction is modern architecture going in the West? And that's I don't think I actually answer the second part of her question because I think that's a huge scope. But I did talk a little bit about the trends. So I feel like there's a Tulumification of LA lately. And I think that out of the cooler styles, like the Tulum thing is really big. I think that vibe is pretty big, I think. What do you think? Tulumification. That's what it's called.
I don't know if I've ever been to Tulum. What does Tulum look like?
So it's grassy and bohemian and just kind of, just very chill, neat. There's grass like that, grass, kind of like that, like this. You see these ferny things? That's kind of it, I think. So that one I think I've seen a lot lately. I also feel like in LA we have a lot of really posh hotel, very old posh hotels and restaurants. And I think there's also a comeback of the old money kind of vibe. Everything is sort of classical and restrained a little bit. So I think there's that. There's Kelly Weisler. I think there's a lot of very in sort of styles and designers that are coming in from LA. And in terms of the architecture, I'm not really going to answer that, but I feel like architecture in general is such there's such a wide, spectrum of great design happening in general all around the world, including LA. All right, so what is something in your work that is, what do you enjoy the most about working and doing what you do and doing it in a city like LA? And so I think for me, it's working with people that come from very diverse backgrounds, professionally, personally. And I think that this diversity is very much a source of inspiration. I think I also get to work on things that make a difference, in people's lives, like the Special Needs Network organization that, we've been a part of for many years. So I think that's something that gives me great joy. I want to mention, of course, my daughter, Nika, I mean, she's something that like brings me a lot of joy every day. And I think life is, more than just work. So we have to kind of try to balance that as much as we can. And I say this today on a day when we had a total disaster in the morning getting ready for work and school. But I think that, the question was working in LA, but I think also living in LA, we have a lot of opportunities to meet interesting people. We have our families, and we live in a beautiful metropolis. Next question is, what is the message that you want to what is your message in your podcast? What's the main message in your podcast? And to kind of pick a few. So first of all, the podcast is an extension of my firm, and I talk about that in I believe, one of the episodes. So we also talk about certain themes that are running through our practice that we cannot necessarily capture through architecture and design. And this new medium is a way to do that, to help do that. One of the things that we do in the podcast is we champion other creators, other people from other fields, and we showcase and bring to the forefront their projects and their contributions and their process. And by doing so, we learn their lessons, and we hear about their mentors and their struggles and their successes. So I think that overall, that's been such a great I guess, new avenue for us to pursue. A lot of our guests are our clients. Some of them are random victims, like my friends. But generally speaking, I am fascinated by people and, the richness that they bring to my life. So that's something I want to capture here and share with you guys. So the next question is also interesting because it uses another word that I'm very sensitive about, and she's asking, can you detail or describe a luxury project in Beverly Hills? What was done? And so, luxury is such a funny word, and I think it's like used so freely these days. We do have a lot of projects in Beverly Hills, and so that, I think, communicates a certain level of luxury. And luxury in itself, to me, means something more than like a polished brass and Carrara marble. I feel that it's a little bit more subtle. I think the way we treat space, or how people move through a space, and what is their journey through a space or an office, or like if you're a guest at this clinic or a guest at a hotel, like what is your experience? The whole experience is kind of what we think about when we design these spaces. We don't just go and pick some pretty things and throw them in there. We do that too. Let's be fair. But it's more than that. And I think when I say more than that, it's also care. And sometimes luxury can mean a smile or a kind gesture. And I think also that's something that we all deserve, not just if you're like a very wealthy person and so you get to experience luxury. So I think there's like it's a very kind of, if you can already see, it's like you have to thread that very carefully. We've designed some very kind of high-end attorneys' offices in Beverly Hills where we did get to pick very nice finishes and design a library and a speakeasy. And, not every office has a speakeasy, right? And we chose beautiful stone and beautiful materials. And, there was furniture and there was a roof deck. And landscaping, and all of this created like a very beautiful, I would say, timeless environment. And same with that. We're doing this clinic in Beverly Hills. We're doing this, the 136 El Camino is also in Beverly Hills. So all of this was kind of designed for you to feel elevated. Everything is elevated. But guess what? We're doing the same thing at the Special Needs Network, which is a part of the Martin Luther King Medical Campus in Compton area. And I believe that that's also, we treat that with the same level of care as we do some of these projects in Beverly Hills. And sometimes I feel like these projects are maybe even more important, because by elevating some of these clients in these communities, we make maybe an even bigger impact on somebody, like on a child or a family that's dealing with a specific issue. So that's a great question, because, I really got to think about that. And I think it's important to apply the same level of care and design and level of design to all kinds of projects. So the next question is like, what kind of, where do you live? What kind of space is it that where you live? And actually, I kind of want to do a whole separate segment on this, because I think it is important. I think it is important to show also what an architect's house looks like. And, it's not a perfect house by any means. So I live in a house that's a part of a mid-century development off of Mulholland on the valley side. And I really like my house. I think that when it was originally designed, this floor plan and I guess like what that architect kind of envisioned as a lifestyle for a family still kind of works. And I think that's like a really, I think it's kind of smart the way it's been planned. So I think because for me, like today in 2023, it still works. So that's one thing. The other thing, I really like the siting of my house. My house is right next to a national forest, and I have a really big piece of property. Not that all of it is usable, but I like being close to nature, and I like access to nature. And I think what's so phenomenal about LA being such a big city is that it's very urban and suburban, but we also have amazing access to nature. We have mountains, we have the desert, we have the ocean, and not a lot of big cities have that. And I think it definitely influences our lifestyle here in a very positive way. The other thing about my house is that my house is always evolving, and I'm planning a big transformation. And I'm waiting for some permits that are in the works, so I'm doing other smaller things. This show is filmed in my house, which is in a garage. We changed the garage, and the garage is a studio. So I'd really like to actually spend more time on that, but it's another great question. And I think your space definitely reflects your personality and your lifestyle and who you are. So it's maybe also an invitation for everybody to kind of look at their own space and work on that in that sense. So those are the questions by Nevena. I believe that's 20 minutes or so. But I was really impressed with her and how much time she put into this. And I think the original article will be in Serbian, but the questions were just such high quality that I wanted this to be also available in English. And thanks, Nevena, for the invite. And see you in the next episode.